Happy single day, Mayo, and welcome to the first Fun Friday show on Second City Sports for the month of May. We're live and living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss McKee McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, so you can catch up on our other live shows that we have airing throughout the week. So if you happen to miss them, excuse me, you can go back and listen to them at your own leisure. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, you can follow us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Please find Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And speaking of our podcast, Second City Sports, you can subscribe at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We're available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And speaking of War Media, why don't you go ahead and give them a follow on all social media platforms at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. One more again, as the kids would say, please follow War Media on all social media platforms. That's at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza, we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You can always hit us up in the comments section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Typing your questions or comments in the comments section, Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and/or do something stupid, I've given Lakina full power to give you fools to build and be built.
Bye-bye.
I love when she says that. But before we begin, we must remind you that you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago, now available on Roku TV. That's right, so celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku TV, that's okay. You have a bunch of handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, maybe your BlackBerry, I don't know. But your personal PC, your Chromebook, just go to that Google Play Store and download their Roku TV app and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand.
Anytime and anywhere you want.
And you know we will provide.
Blackberries. Okay. All right, so we got a lot to do here on Second City Sports. Well, unfortunately, we have no guests today, but we're gonna make it do what it do here. Of course, we're gonna talk some MLB. We're gonna talk some playoffs in both NBA and NHL. Some big games tonight. Also, to some sports media news and the first round pick of this past week's draft has already signed his contract. So we'll tell you who that is in just a second. But let's go to dive and talk some baseball, Sid. Well, your White Sox, they did take 3 out of 4 against their rivals, the Twins. Yay! They actually won 3 in a row for a little bit. A little bit of a spark. Well, a little bit of a spark, with Billy Hamilton coming up among a few others, TH.
Yay! I'll cheer for that.
Yeah, so TA, coming back, a little bit.
I'll cheer for that too. Yay!
Yeah, a little bit of a spark here. They have a weekend series against the Reds for kind of an even playing field there. But also probably, of course, Liam Hendricks is back. Working out with the team, which I think, I don't think anybody expected that to happen. We'll get to that in a little bit. So what do you think about the White Sox play this week? Kind of up and down. They probably could have easily lost a couple of those games against the Twins, but even still, what do you think about your Sox this week, Sid?
Yeah, they took 2 out of 3 deals, that first series win of the year, so thank goodness for that. Excuse me, I don't know. So some special force doesn't want me to talk today, but I'm gonna get through it. Damn it! As I tweeted the other night, baseball needs Tim Anderson. I know he made his return on Tuesday, didn't get a hit, but he collected 3 hits on Wednesday night's win against the Twins. And it's no secret, Lakina. He makes this spark plug offense go for the Chicago White Sox. You can tell that everybody fell in line. Let's be honest here, Lakina. No Tim Anderson. No production at that top of the lineup. Luis Robert isn't batting, and Juvan is not batting. And your guy, Eloy Jimenez, He has not played the field this year. Thank goodness. You notice when he's a DH, he's more engaged in the game. That means that he's hitting the ball to all fields. You're seeing that right now with him. I believe he's on a 6 or 7 game hitting streak, so he's hitting the ball pretty well right now. And you mentioned Billy Hamilton. He was part of the 11 transactional moves that took place prior to Tuesday's series opener against the Twins. Billy Hamilton, I don't know why they didn't bring him back last year, but that's a whole nother issue. But I'm glad he's back now. We all know that he can't do it with the bat. We saw that yesterday, but as I said, when he was on this team in 2021, he could catch it with the glove. He's your defensive replacement in the late innings, and he can run the bases. You saw that in the last 2 games of this Twins series. Now, on the flip side, that starting pitching has stepped up outside of Dylan Cease. Giolito had a good performance yesterday. Unfortunately, it was wasted because the Sox should have won that game and not to go to extra innings. Also, too, Michael Kopech stepped up in that game on Tuesday, which was great to see. Now we need Lance Lynn to step up. He's 0-4 on the year. He's going to take the bump tonight in Cincinnati. That game can be seen on Apple TV Plus, by the way. But that starting pitcher has turned around as well. But what about Kenyon Milton, Lakina? He had his first save the other night as the White Sox are trying to piece together their bullpen until Liam Hendricks comes back. I would say things are on up and up for the White Sox, and the schedule is lighting up a bit for this month of May, but I need to see more, especially heading to Cincinnati this weekend for a crucial 3-game series before you go to Kansas City for 4 next week.
Which has been a kind of a house of horrors for the White Sox in recent years, especially. So, look, I mean, you take the 3, you win 2 out of 3, against the Twins, yippee, yay, good for them. But it just, you won 3 in a row beforehand with the, not being swept against the Rays last weekend. But again, you saw the game yesterday. They found themselves bad habits. They left about 12 guys on base, and so it was just,
and a couple bad errors too. One by Anderson too. That's not good.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, you kind of felt that bad habits too. So I stopped short of saying, look, wait me when they win about 10 in a row, then I'll take them seriously. But right now, I can't. So but it is what it is with that. Now going to the north side, a little bit of different story. They got swept by the Nationals. Talking about the Cubs, but they did bring up Matt Mervis, who's tearing up at AAA. It was actually cool how he found out, because I guess their AAA team was playing the Nationals, their AAA squad, and then they were going to leave, go back. His parents were, but then I guess he got the call back late last night that he was going to go to Chicago. So now his parents, they're on their way. I think they're already there as we speak. They came early this morning, but a nice story with him. He's tearing the ball up at AAA. I think he's got one of the top batting averages in AAA. He and Christopher Morel. So there are folks have been lobbying for him to come up. So now he's there. So hopefully they can give the Cubs a little bit of a spark too against the Marlins. They start important weekend series against the Marlins in about an hour from now. But I think for me, look, we all thought, if you were a Cubs fan or anybody else, you thought there was going to be some little bit of regression, as we got into May, as it's ebbs and flows in the season. I know Cody Bellinger hit a couple of home runs. I know Wisdom hit a couple of home runs, but the pitching has been a little bit inconsistent. I'm talking about especially the middle relievers, and also too the hitting has kind of been sort of up and up. So I know they had the first and third with nobody out, and they didn't score, and it was just a little bit. Look, I think this is a progression of a long season, especially with a team which you don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to be in contention for the National League Central? Will it be in contention for the wild card? So this is sort of the thing where you have to kind of clean stuff up a little bit. And I think I'm not worried about the Cubs right at this moment.
The Cubs have gotten great starting pitching, Lakina, on this road trip. It just wasn't backed up by their offense. And we talked about this so far in this early part of the season. This team is built on defense and great starting pitching, but that offense needs to give that starting staff a break, and it did not do that in those last 3 games against the Washington Nationals. Now, give Marcus Stroman credit, give Justin Steele credit, who's going to take the bump today against the Miami Marlins, and also give Steve Wisniewski credit too for bouncing back in this last couple starts. So the Cubs starting pitching is fine. I'm still worried about that middle relief and the back end of that bullpen a little bit. I think they need to shore that up. I think if they're competitive around the July 31st trade deadline, I think Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins, their GM, is going to make a move or two, because this division is up for grabs, to be honest with you. I know Pittsburgh's up there right now. We'll tell you what they did in just a moment. But you have Pittsburgh. St. Louis is struggling. I don't know if they're going to come out of it. I don't know. We'll see. And you still have Milwaukee. Milwaukee, always Milwaukee. They have great pitching, but their offense is just sometimes worse than the Cubs at times. So the Cubs do have a chance to grab a playoff spot. Yes, it's still early, but this is kind of where you expect it to be if you're a Cubs fan. Yes, it's a disappointing you lose 3 out of 4 to Washington. Maybe they're not as bad as they are right now, record-wise, but despite losing 3 out of 4 in our nation's capital, you still have to feel pretty confident if you're the Cubs right now, because if not the division, you still have an excellent chance to grab one of those 3 wild card spots.
Yeah, I mean, and look, Dansby Swanson, I think, he loves playing at that park, obviously. He his 13th career home run at Nationals Park on Tuesday. But, like you said, I mean, look, 3 out of 4, I know the Nationals are not very good, but, it still kind of seems a little bit that they lose 3 out of 4. And like I said, they could have won a couple of those games too, but, again, the offense and the middle relief and such. So, I think they need to get, I think getting Matt Mervis up, I think that'll help a little bit. Hopefully, Christopher Morel's not too far behind him. He's kind of like the Billy Hamilton of the Cubs, sort of, giving him a little bit of energy. So hopefully, we'll see him up here in the next week or two. I saw Kyle Hendricks has a bullpen session today, so hopefully, maybe we'll see him in a couple of weeks too. Seiya Suzuki, hopefully he can get it going as well. So yeah, I think the agreements are there for the Cubs to be kind of like right there. Like I said, we'll talk more about the rest of the division, probably not till after the break. But I feel like if you're a Cubs fan, you should be feeling pretty good where you're at right now. I mean, you're 15-16 as we're recording this. Then look, I mean, no one really thought that you guys would get you didn't get your 15th game till I think when I don't know, till about this time last year. So I think. Like you're already kind of ahead of the curve. You're the Cubs, so I think you got to be feeling pretty good where you're at right now. Yeah, a couple of those, a couple, games, like at that Marlins series just wasn't, the luck wasn't on your side. Could have won 2 out of 3 there, but again, I mean, considering where a lot of people thought you would be, I think if you're a Cubs fan, you got to be feeling pretty good.
Yes, and speaking of Matt Mervis, he averaged, he had a total of 42 home runs in his last 2 full seasons in the minor leagues. He was hitting 6 home runs, 27 RBI, and about a 284 average so far in his early young season in Iowa before he got called up yesterday. So hopefully he could add some power to that lineup. Hopefully there should be no pressure on him to save this Cubs offense. It shouldn't be. He should ease up into it. And don't forget too, Lakina, Cody Bellinger has been a nice surprise as far as his start to the season for the Chicago Cubs. So you pair those 2 left-handed bats in that lineup, and that's going to be dangerous to help out that starting pitching.
I mean, we're seeing the Cody Bellinger that we saw a few years ago when he was with the Dodgers, when they won the World Series a couple of years ago, when everything was we're still going through the partial lockdowns and stuff. So yeah, I think we're starting to see that Cody Bellinger back. He's been like I said, he's been a really nice surprise. Like I said, Dansby Swanson's doing his thing. We saw Patrick Wisdom, Ian Happ, who got his fresh paper about a month ago. So yeah, I think Nico Horner has been up and down, but I think he's starting to get it going too. Yeah, I think the ingredients are there for the Cubs. Like I said, hopefully Mervis doesn't feel the pressure. I think he's been like a 7 or 8, 6 or 7 in the lineup. Today against the series against the Marlins, so we'll see how he does. But should be interesting though, nonetheless. But I'm looking forward to see how he does. Like you said, hopefully there's no pressure on him. Hopefully, kind of just have fun and just be kind of be right there for you. Happy Friday, Brandon. We're doing good. Stick around. We're gonna be talking some NBA. Don't worry. We haven't forgotten about the NBA playoffs. We're gonna have that coming up in a little bit. But after this break, we're gonna talk the rest of baseball. Also, too, a promising pitcher sadly, unfortunately, announced his retirement. Some teams are getting hot while other teams are kind of falling back to earth. So more baseball talk and maybe a little bit of NBA talk too coming up next. We got time. Second, the Keenan McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. More Diamond talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on the Cinco de Mayo edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid Deslakina. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keelan McGee on the Twitter and at Keelan McGee on the IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left or so in this extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up in the comments section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Typing in questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. Now we're going to talk about the rest of the finish up the MLB talk. You know, what caught your eye this week in the MLB?
Bryce Harper is making the quickest return from a Tommy John surgery ever. He made his debut last Monday with the Philadelphia Phillies as they took on the bad English,
Dodgers.
bad.
Dodgers.
They faced the Los Angeles Dodgers on the road. They got swept in all three games. Was it Bryce Harper's fault? No. Philadelphia's bad bullpen was the problem, and it looks like the Dodgers finally starting to heat up. Looking, we talk about them. The new players getting used to Dave Roberts and getting used to each other with their chemistry. Well, their bats came alive and they swept the defending National League champs. Now their crosstown rival, the Anaheim Angels, they swept away a bad St. Louis Cardinals team on the road, and they're hovering around first place in the AL West. Who Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, as of right now, they're hanging around the division lead over the Texas Rangers. We'll see about that. The Rangers had their issues in their last game against the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'll say this: the American League is going to get interesting, Lakina. And as we now move over to AL East, the Boston Red Sox they swept away the Toronto Blue Jays this week. If you're a Blue Jays fan, I'm not too worried about that, but you don't want to fall into deep in a hole here. The Yankees, without Aaron Judge, who's injured right now, they barely won their series against the Cleveland Guardians at Yankee Stadium. And the Baltimore Orioles, I think they had the second best record in baseball. They kept rolling, even though I believe they lost yesterday in their series finale against Kansas City. But they took care of them as far as the series overall is concerned. And we talked about it jokingly the other day, Lakina. The quote-unquote World Series preview between Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh. Tampa said, Pittsburgh, you're overrated. We'll go ahead and sweep you away out of Tropicana Field, and that's exactly what happened.
Well, yeah. Well, going back to that Dodgers series against the Phillies for a second, they scored 36 runs. That's like that ties for the most in any 3-game series since they moved to Los Angeles. Talk about the Dodgers franchise. That's actually their most ever in a 3-game series at Dodger Stadium. So it looks like they're starting to find their groove a little bit. I'm talking about the Dodgers have, they've actually won 6 in a row. So like I said, we'll see if they can keep it up. Now the Pirates, I think they got fallen back to earth thanks to the Rays, and they've lost 4 in a row, and also to the Brewers have lost 4 in a row. That's why we were saying they lost 4 in a row. They got swept by the Rockies, losing all three games there. So they're starting to kind of like, this is why we say about the Cubs. Everybody's freaking out about the Cubs. Well, some people are, but this is why we weren't freaking out because both the Pirates and the Brewers actually got swept in their respective series. So they're all kind of right there in that realm there. Now, New York, I mean, it's too bad Garrett Cole can't start for them every day because they've won every 7 of their 17 wins have been with Garrett Cole pitching. So that unfortunately for them, he can't pitch all the time. The Blue Jays, I'm not too worried about the Blue Jays. I know that they got swept by the Red Sox. I mean, that was a tough series to watch. I mean, the Tuesday game was tough, and also too they just got hammered in that last game in that series. So I mean, I'm not worried about the Blue Jays, but yeah, in a very competitive AL East, you don't want to be too far behind that you gotta dig yourself out of that hole that you bid that big old hole that you get in. So I'm not too worried about the Blue Jays just yet. I mean, the Angels, look, we saw this last year. I mean, they were up there for a little bit. They right around
right, and they fired Joe Madden in a process. Yeah.
So I'm going to wait and see it there for real. So yeah, I mean, look, there's still a lot to be decided here. I know that I know the Braves have been playing very, very well recently. I know they swept the Marlins too this week. So it'll be interesting to see if they're if they can keep it up. I know the Mets. On the flip side, the Mets they've lost they've lost 3 in a row too.
Welcome back, Justin Verlander. Give up 2 solo shots and you lose the game.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. That was welcome back, Verlander. Look what happened. But look, I mean, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, we'll see. I'm sure it's going to take him a couple of games to kind of get back into it. He hasn't played in months, so I think people need to kind of give him a little bit of a break there. But yeah, I mean, look, this is when it gets very interesting. We're going to sort through which teams are for real and which teams aren't.
Yeah. Shout out to our guy, Brandon Schutz. Once again, the Astros get shut out again. They got swept by the San Francisco Giants earlier this week. I know the Astros still going through their injuries right now, i.e. Jose Altuve. I know they're starting to turn around a little bit, but they still need consistency with that always. I still believe they're going to be okay, but the Texas Rangers are off to a nice start. As I said, they struggled in their series finale game yesterday losing to the Arizona Diamondbacks. But I think as soon as the Astros get their guys back, I think they'll be okay. Now, can the Angels keep this up? I'm not sure. Maybe the Rangers can. I'm not saying they're going to steal the division from the Astros, but we'll see what happens. We still have a long way to go. I was going to bring up my next point, looking about the NL East. If you're a Mets fan, you have to be worried because of your middle relief, and you still have injuries to your star players right now. So, and like you said, the Braves, they swept away the Marlins earlier this week. So, and the Braves look like they could be one of those teams to beat, not just in the National League, but in baseball overall. So we'll see what happens with that. Now back in the NL West, it looks like the Padres are starting to pick it up a bit. We know we talked about the Dodgers just a few moments ago. So it looks like some of these teams are starting to separate themselves, but we still have a while to go before Memorial Day. We can really get a real good judgment view of these teams.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, there's still a lot to play, a lot of baseball to play. So this might look by this time next month we'll be talking about something completely different. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, before we get to the scheduling, I want to kind of pay off that tease I did before we went to break. Matt Harvey, who was a pitching sensation from the Mets, speaking of the Mets, announced on Instagram that he is announcing his retirement. Of course, as if you guys have followed his career, he had a great rookie year going to the All-Star game, with the Mets. But then after that, various injuries, Tommy John and other arm injuries. You just couldn't get it, going. He's played for various teams. He played for the Reds, the Angels, the Royals, and the Orioles too. That was the last team he played. His last game was in 2021. So overall, he had a 50-66 record and a 4.42 ERA, 687 strikeouts, and yeah, so not one of those. He was one of those guys that you thought that maybe something big was going to come from him, but it just didn't happen, unfortunately. And you kind of feel for him that he didn't become that big time pitcher that we thought he was going to be.
Yeah, we saw glimpses of it, especially during the early part of his career with the New York Mets, and he was part of that 2015 team that went to the World Series before they lost to the Kansas City Royals. Of course, Matt Harvey was pitching great in Game 5. Of course, at that time, Mets manager Terry Collins opted to take him out. Of course, the Mets went downhill from there. But let's be honest, too. Matt Harvey wanted to be the big star in New York. We all know it's a pressure cooker to play in the number one market in the world. But like you said, injuries got the best of him, especially early in his career, which affected the rest of his career. And also, too, he played into his ego a little bit. You wanted everything so soon, and you thought that each time that he wanted to turn the corner, another injury happened, something happened off the field, things of that nature. But it's just unfortunate. He did get some years out of it. Thank goodness for him. Of course, he wanted more, but the injuries really decimated his career. He could have been one of the best pitchers that we have seen in a decade. But injuries, that's what happens with some athletes sometimes. Injuries just it's a nightmare for athletes, and it ruins your legacy, ruins your career.
Yeah, and also, like I said, outside distractions too. So, his dating life became more of a bigger thing than the pitching. I think that probably didn't help him either. So, we wish nothing but the best. I'm sure we'll probably see him doing some television, maybe he'll maybe do a podcast or something. So, he's nice. Like he's got an engaging personality. Yes, I'm not afraid to say that. So, we'll see. But wish him nothing but the best in his future careers. Now, going into this weekend series, of course, you got the Marlins and the Cubs. They will start play in about 45 minutes from now, give or take. Toronto and Pittsburgh both coming off sweep, so we'll see which team can bounce back from that. That first game's at 5:35 Chicago time. Of course, the White Sox, as you said, Sid, earlier, Cincinnati, that's going to be on Apple TV Plus. Remember, folks, so those of you in Chicago,
exclusively on Apple TV Plus. For those of you that get MLB.TV, the extra innings, you can catch that game 90 minutes after its conclusion if you don't have Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to find other avenues to watch that game. Yes, Vernon, they probably are gonna have to sell the team, so we'll see.
Shout out to our guy Vernon.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, Vernon. We've been through this multiple times. Interesting battle here in the AL East. This weekend you got the Yankees and the Rays. That should be a fun one. Boston and Philadelphia, Colorado and the Mets. Minnesota and Cleveland. That's the second game, the Apple TV Plus doubleheader. So same thing. Those of you who are in Minnesota and Cleveland, it's not going to be on your local affiliate. So make sure you guys find other avenues to watch that game as well. And Baltimore and Atlanta. That should be a fun one at 6:20 tonight. Starting game.
Yeah, the rest of the series for this weekend, you'll have Milwaukee at San Francisco, Washington at Arizona. The San Diego Padres will host the Los Angeles Dodgers for the first time this year. I definitely cannot wait for that series to begin. Texas at the LA Angels, and the Astros against Lakina Seattle Mariners. So Brandon, our guy in the chat, Lakina may have some kind words for you after this weekend series. So we'll see about that as that series opens tonight. Now your national TV schedule looks like this. Lakina gave you the Apple TV Plus schedule for tonight. Now for tomorrow, Saturday afternoon at 1:20 on ESPN Plus, the second game of the Marlins Cup series will take place. Your Fox Saturday baseball game of the week looks like this. Most of the country will get Philadelphia at Boston, while the rest of you will get Baltimore at Atlanta. And for Sunday, your Peacock game it's not on Peacock. It's on Big NBC Free TV.
Oh no, it's not. It's gonna be straight on Peacock too.
Okay, yeah. So, but most of the country can get it on NBC, the free TV, which is Baltimore and Atlanta for the third game of that series. And on ESPN Plus on Sunday, we'll have Texas at Anaheim, and then your Sunday night baseball game of the week will feature the Dodgers and the Padres.
That should be a fun series. Going to be glued to that one. And that is your schedule for MLB for this weekend. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you. Now we're going to go a little completely different direction. We're going to talk some NBA playoffs. Now we're going to talk about last night's. There was only one game last night, and well, if you were still watching this game by the end, I mean, God bless you. It was more for those who probably were for gambling purposes.
More for betting purposes, or you're a legend?
I was for betting purposes, probably. 127-100. The Warriors just hammered the Lakers. Just just put on a clinic, shooting wise, which they didn't do in game one. Steph, of course, had 20 points, but it was actually Klay Thompson was a big story. He was 8-11 from 3-point range. Talk about Klay. And he had 30 points. Of course, Draymond Green had 11, a double-double with 11 points, 11 boards. And Andrew Wiggins had 11. And such. Just a clinic there for the Warriors. As far as the Lakers, they had their struggles. Only 11 points from AD. That's not going to do it for you. Of course, LeBron had 23. And despite Roy Hakamura having 21 off the bench, it was basically the Klay Thompson show, and something that it's a little bit kind of disconcerting. But so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. No, but what do you think about that series? Yes, if you did watch all of it.
No, I did not watch all of last night's game. But the couple of things that I've noticed so far in this series. One, in game one, the Los Angeles Lakers dominated inside. Anthony Davis had 31 points, and he controlled the paint defensively. Now, last night that didn't happen. The Warriors couldn't find a way to score a bucket in game one from the interior. They doubled that total in game two. Kevon Looney, who got 8 up in game one against Anthony Davis for the Warriors, he was kicked out of the starting lineup by Steve Kerr, and JaMychal Green had 15 points off the bench last night. He was inserted into the starting lineup. And that's one thing I noticed is those role players that make a big difference when you come playoff time. Number 2, Steph Curry had 12 assists. That's the most he's ever had under head coach Steve Kerr. You mentioned his scoring totals, Lakina. I think for this series, he is going to get his shots, but he was better last night as a facilitator. All his other teammates got better shots and got more involved in the game, and the Warriors controlled the pace of play last night. Number three, Draymond Green. I think he had a triple-double or close to it last night. And as we said, even though he's getting older, he's not the scorer that he used to be. He's the emotional leader. He's the defensive anchor for that Warriors team. You saw that last night. And he had Anthony Davis so frustrated that Anthony Davis was yelling at everybody on the Lakers bench in that first half. Draymond Green, when guarding Anthony Davis in the first half last night, 0 for 4. That should tell you something.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's not a good showing if you're the Lakers. You don't want AD to have those kinds of stats going to game 3 now. I want to give Lakers fans a little bit of encouragement. The Lakers actually have won 9 straight games when the series is tied at 1 apiece. That's the longest such streak in NBA history. So that could, despite their performance last night, yes, it was lackluster, and yes, the Warriors were just shooting lights out. But I get a lot of encouragement there for all you Lakers fans, and they play again tomorrow too. So not a lot of rest between us. So we'll see if the Warriors can keep it up. But the consistency of it, plus like you said, Sid, I mean, guys like Austin Reeves to step up. He only had 7 points. D'Angelo Russell only had 10. I know he struggled from the 3-point range. But as you said, AD really needs to step it up. I mean, as he goes, so does the Lakers, and they really need to. If they want to try to make this a series and try to extend it as long as they can, I should say, they really need to be consistent in the 3-point line, especially only 10 for 34 from 3-point range. That's not going to do it for you. We're trying to beat the Warriors, so try to be a little bit more finesse. Try to stop Draymond, and kind of be sort of like that guy and such. I think that I think LeBron will do his thing as much as he can. AD needs to step up, but so does the rest of the supporting cast for the Lakers.
Yeah, as what Steph Curry did for the Warriors last night, that's LeBron James's role for the Los Angeles Lakers. You don't need LeBron to score 35, 40 points, because if he does that, the Lakers are in trouble, as you mentioned. Anthony Davis should take the mantle and run with it. He's one of the top 10 players in the league when he's motivated and when he's healthy. So, like you said, so goes Anthony Davis, so goes the Lakers. And you mentioned Austin Reeves and Dennis Schroeder and D'Angelo Russell. Maybe it's Austin Reeves and Schroeder to let's just stay looking. But have you noticed some of those younger Laker players starting to get tired because they did have an extra day between between games 1. I believe they had an extra day between games 1 and 2. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, they did.
but they did. Okay, but starting with tomorrow night's game, they play every other day until next Sunday. If Game 7 should take place in on the Warriors Chase Field Center, so they're not going to get any extra days off in between games. So it's every other day for here on out.
Yeah, so they're gonna have to be a little bit more, they're gonna have to show a little bit, show it a little bit, sense of fight. So we'll see what happens with that. Now going into Wednesday's series, the Boston, speaking of shooting lights out, Boston just hammered Philadelphia 121-87. And congrats to Joel Embiid, who wins MVP finally. What's that Lizzo hits about damn time? Well, it's about time. He won MVP. It's actually the first Sixer to win league MVP. I go all the way back to 0-1 with AI. Allen Iverson did it. So, a nice, and very deserving too. By the way, this wasn't, like it wasn't, he's definitely deserving, but sure. But unfortunately, you kind of figure that maybe he celebrated a little bit too much because, and granted too, I mean, look, the Celtics, like we've been saying, they shot lights out. It's kind of hard, when they're shooting very well. I know, and even though Tatum was strong, he only had 7 points, but it was really their bench guys. I know Malcolm Brogdon had 23 off the bench, and also Grant Williams had 12 off the bench as well. So, it was definitely, especially with Brown struggling, it was definitely, definitely kind of surprised that they were able to do this, but like we also said, I mean, need more scoring. PJ Tucker, I know. Happy birthday, PJ! This is your chance to step up a little bit. You only had 5 points in that last game. Tobias Harris had 16. I know Embiid struggled a little bit from the field. Also, Harden did as well, only scoring 12. He was 0 for 6 from 3. So I'm not too worried. If you're a Sixers fan, you shouldn't really feel too worried. I think it's just Celtics. Sometimes these things happen. That's why this is a best of 7, folks.
I'm going to ask you, Lakina, I know it's easy for me to ask this question considering the circumstances, but with Boston's blowout win in Game 2 on Wednesday, do you think that the Philadelphia should have played Embiid? I'm going to go ahead and say no. Of course, I know you cannot predict the outcome like that, but I know Embiid didn't play the whole game, thank goodness, because he's still dealing with that right knee issue, but I don't think he should have played. Especially you went there you did what you had to do in Game 1 and steal a game. I'm not saying you should quote unquote take games off. You don't do that in the playoffs, but you really didn't need Embiid for Game 2. You save him up for games 3 and 4 and for the rest of the series beyond. You did what you had to do to steal Game 1. You really didn't need Embiid for Game 2. I understood why Doc Rivers did it to send the message to the Celtics, but this is about the long-term health of Embiid. I don't think he should have played on Wednesday. That's just me.
Well, we'll talk about a team that actually did what you just said in just a second. But I mean, I'm sure he wanted to play. Talk about Embiid. That's probably why he probably begged Doc. Knowing him, he probably begged Doc Rivers. I think he wanted to show people that, hey, I did deserve to win MVP. That might have been a little bit of a.
And nothing's wrong with that, by the way. Nothing's wrong with that.
Well, yeah, and I think that might have been why he decided to play. You could, he had his shots, but you kind of tell that his knee was still bothering him. So I'm glad Doc took him out when he did, especially when the game was a blowout, was out of reach. So, but even still, I mean, look, the guys, Harden needs to shoot better. Max needs to shoot better. PJ Tucker needs to step up. Also, too, Tobias Harris as well, and also their guys off the bench as well. I mean, look, I mean, this is gonna be a long series. I don't think this is gonna be like a 5-gamer either way. So I think it's gonna go 6 or 7. So with every other day being the thing now. Like it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Now going back to speaking of real quick, Miami and New York. Now Eric Spoelstra actually did what you suggested, for Jimmy Butler, that you suggested that Doc should have done with Embiid. He actually kept Butler out in Game 2 after stealing Game 1. They actually had their chances to actually seal that victory. I'm talking about because they were actually leading for a little bit most of that fourth quarter, but look, some big shots by Obi Toppin and by RJ Barrett. Also to Jalen Brunson, who is having his own injury issues too, so he may not play tonight. But but look, I think you did what you need to do, and I understand why Spo did what he did. They actually don't play again until tomorrow, so hopefully Jimmy could be a little bit better. A little bit talking about Butler, but this game could have gone either way. But if the Knicks really needed this more than the Heat did.
Yes, especially what you mentioned with the Knicks dealing with their own injury issues. Don't forget Julius Randle as well dealing with his ankle issues. But the support and role of players for the Miami Heat's been stepping up. Caleb Martin, Kyle Lowry off the bench. Kevin Love has been contributing here and there. And also too, don't forget about Duncan Robinson. So it's got to be a total team effort, especially we've seen that Jimmy Butler is going to play tomorrow in Game 3 tomorrow afternoon. Those guys that you mentioned are going to have to keep up with their play. On the flip side for the Knicks, you mentioned, well, I think we talked about some of the young guys on our last show. Obi Toppin, who didn't get any run late in the regular season, because we all know Tom Thibodeau really shortens up with the rotation, especially come playoff time. So one of those young guys who had to step up, especially with the injury to Julius Randle, is Obi Toppin. Don't forget about Josh Hart as well, who they acquired at the trade deadline. He's really provided energy, especially on the defensive end for the New York Knicks. So, and don't forget about Emmanuel quickly. You mentioned RJ Barrett. Those young guys have come and have done a tremendous job. You saw the impact of all those guys in Game 2.
Yeah, so definitely, this is definitely going to be a series here, like you said. I mean, no one's 100% on this on either team. So,
which is a shame. I think it's going to be a good series, but if both teams were really close to 100% health, I think you will have better basketball. That's just me personally.
We'll see, but like you said, I mean, look, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with this, because it's like I said, it's gonna get a little bit tougher, especially with everyone playing every other day now. So it's not gonna be that long rest as it will be. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, coming up tonight this weekend, tonight's games, of course, you get Boston and Philadelphia, pivotal Game 3. Will be interested to see how Embiid looks. I know Jason Tatum's kind of having some injury struggles as well. So, like I said, no one's fully healthy this late in the season. So it is what it is. Yes, that's going to be Game 3 of that series. Going to be at 6:30 on ESPN. The first game of that Friday doubleheader. Also, too, speaking of injuries, of course, CP3, has a groin injury. Now it looks like he's probably be out for this series. Phoenix really needs to win this, win Game 3, because if not, it's going to be curtains for them. Look, I know KD, I know he can only do so much by himself, but also too, same with Devin Booker. But they need to get their supporting guys step up. DeAndre Ayton, guys like that. I know lack of depth in the Suns has been an issue, and unfortunately we're seeing that now with CP3's injury. But they're young guys outside of KD and Booker, but Ayton needs to step up. Other guys need to step up. So this is really crunch time for the Suns, I think.
Despite what happens tonight and over the weekend, Lakina, obviously we'll be back on Monday to recap this series. But do you think that this series is over? I'm talking about Denver and Phoenix, because I kind of get that feeling. But like you said, if Phoenix doesn't win tonight, it's over.
Yes, if Phoenix does not win tonight, then it's it'll be over and done with on Sunday. So we'll see what happens with that. That's going to be 9 o'clock on that second half of that ESPN doubleheader. And of course, as for mentioned, the Knicks and the Heat, that's Game 3 of that series, ABC at 2:30 tomorrow. We'll see if how Jimmy Butler looks. We'll see how Randall looks. I know Brunson, there's rumors that now he won't be able to play tomorrow. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens with this, because like we've been saying, the injuries unfortunately has been playing both teams. So it's really gonna depend on literally be the survival of the fittest.
Yep, and then on Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on ABC will be Game 3 of the Western Conference semifinal series between the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers, as the series moves on to Los Angeles. And that stadium, formerly known as Staples Center, of course, their best-of-7 series is tied up at 1 game apiece. Of course, your schedule for Sunday looks like this. At 2:30 on ESPN, not ABC, 2:30 on Sunday on ESPN, we'll have Game 4 of the Celtics 76ers series in the Eastern Conference. And then on Sunday night on TNT at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, we'll have Denver and Phoenix Game 4 of that series.
Could be a clincher there. We'll see. So that's your schedule for this weekend in NBA playoffs. All right, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 straight ahead. We're going to do that hockey. We're going to do some NHL playoffs. Some surprises coming up in these playoffs so far. Of course, the first round pick from the NFL draft has signed his rookie deal. We'll talk more about that as Ricky mini camps. Easy for me to say is starting as we speak. And also too, and a whole lot more to be coming up next. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Stanley Cup playoff talk coming up right after this.
No, I don't know. I'm scared. I mean, you're so
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on this fun Friday Fun edition. Happy Cinco de Mayo. We're live and living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can find Keena McGee on the Twitter and Akina's coming again on the IG.
We have less than 55 minutes left for this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But before we get to my question of the day, we have to discuss that hockey, Lakina. So let's do that hockey. The Stanley Cup Playoffs
Let's do that
are up
hockey.
and running for the second round.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of games, they'll happen over this week. So we'll talk. Well, of course, we'll talk about last night's games and look at it's definitely one of those with a great series so far. Look at the Florida Panthers. I mean, they've already taken to the first two in Toronto. Of course, 3-2 after being down 2-1. Going to the first intermission. And I know some folks thought that maybe that after upsetting the Bruins that they were gonna kind of just chill and such. But look, to their credit, they're showing you that that upset was not a fluke. I mean, I just it's been a really great series so far for them. And Sergei Bobrovsky, the goalie for the Panthers, I mean, he's been on a tear. He's only allowed 2 goals in the first 8 shots. Then he got, he made 28 saves after that, giving up those first 2 goals. Now, of course, he's been one of the reasons why the Panthers are where they are right now. I mean,
Yeah, he's been the
just
best player so far in these first 2 games of this series.
absolutely. So, what you think? I mean, look, I'm just I'm surprised by the Panthers' performance.
Yeah, they've been the more physical team. They had a better start in last night's game. They've been the aggressor. Toronto, you could argue that Toronto has been the team that has been fatigued. Finally getting past the first round as a franchise for the first time in 19 years. Finally giving over those demons and defeating the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think they're the team that's been playing on their heels, and they need to get their win back now. Can they take 2 in Florida? Sure, they can, but they got to have a much better start, and that's what have been one of the factors that have been costing them being down this 0-2 hole.
Yeah, and it's definitely like you said. Bobrowski's been really solid. Like I said, 35 saves. Overall, just a really he's been standing on his head, as they say here in hockey.
Mhm.
But Anton Lindell has been really solid too. He had a goal and a couple of assists. So I mean, I just like you said. I mean, you could kind of tell that the air kind of fell out of that building in Toronto. Like I said, we talked about on Monday. I'm sure the city of Toronto were celebrating after
Mhm.
finally getting out of the first round for the first time for the first time in years. But then they realize, oh crap, we got to play a Florida team. Florida team is actually pretty good. So I'm a
Yeah.
little bit worried. I mean, we've seen teams come back from 2 deficits to
Mhm.
win. I mean, we know the Blackhawks have done it a couple of times, but it's just one of those things where you just kind of like, look, they need to kind of refocus, and I think getting away from Toronto might actually help the Maple Leafs.
I couldn't agree with you more. And also, too, the way that Toronto played last night after being down 0-2, they did fight their way back, but it was too little too late. They dominated this statistic category, but just those intangibles, those little intangibles, and not having breakdowns in defensive coverage, making big saves, taking advantage of turnovers, creating turnovers. And that's what Florida did last night, after that fast start, taking advantage of those intangibles. That's going to help you win games come playoff time.
Yeah, they definitely tightened up after that, after being down 2-0. So yeah, I think that you got to give the Panthers credit for kind of making those adjustments on the fly, and then they were able to kind of take over the game after that. So hopefully they can, the Maple. I really want this game to go 6 or 7. So hopefully, I'm hoping that the Maple Leafs can kind of get together here. Yeah, we'll talk more about that series in a second. Now, the Stars, the Dallas Stars, and the Seattle Kraken. Nothing cracking this week as the Stars tied the series with a 4-2 win over the Kraken last night, and it was Joe Pavelski who had a big goal.
The old San Jose Shark.
Yeah, I remember that the guys you won a title there with he's still around. He's actually the oldest player with to have that felt. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's been playing at a very high level. He helped lead the way for the Stars as they beat the Kraken. It was definitely back and forth for a little bit, but of course, Tyler Seguin, that was kind of like they went up 4-0, and 3-0, I should say, that kind of got a little bit crazy after that. But the Stars kind of dominated that game, and so they kind of control the tempo and such. So it was kind of a tough game. You thought that maybe Seattle would try to make a go. They had a couple of chances, but they couldn't do it. But they go to Seattle, split this series. So if you're Seattle, you gotta be feeling pretty good right now, even though you lost a tough one last night.
Yeah, Seattle, they did what they had to do in game 1. They stole the game by doing the little things that we talked about with Florida earlier. Is the intangibles, the little things that count, that make a difference in the playoffs. Seattle played more of their style in game 1. Dallas was trying to keep up. They didn't have it, and so the Kraken took advantage of that. As we said on our last show, Lakina, Seattle's a very physical team. They're not a fast-paced team, but they almost like those old New Jersey Devil teams in the late 90s and early 2000s. They like to control the pace, and they can out-hit you, which they did last night, 45-32. But they're not known as a speed team like the Dallas Stars are.
No.
Dallas controlled the pace last night. They won the face-off category 37-27, and 44-20, I should say. They outshot the Kraken 37-27. So Dallas played more to their style last night, and it wasn't a surprise that they won.
Yeah, speed. It's going to be definitely speed versus defense. So this is going to be a good series. So I think, look, once they get to Seattle, that place is going to be rocking in Seattle, Sid. So it'll be interesting to see how the Kraken look, and Dallas. how can they adjust to try to play that sort of like the speed, style, of course, with a little bit more of a slow course, which pace is going to win out in these next 2 games, I guess, in Seattle. So should be a fun one here nonetheless. Now there is a couple of series will start this weekend. First one tonight, this will be on TNT at 7. You got the Devils and the Panthers, my Carolina Panthers. This could be.
Yeah, they dominated game 1 on Wednesday.
Yeah, they did. They
5-1.
did. Yeah, so we'll see if the Devils can kind of get a bounce back. But I'm just, like I mean, look, like I said, the Panthers, like I said, these are mostly like guys that are no names and such. We of course, Jack Hughes. If you saw, look, his post game comments are all actually pretty funny. So, and I'm sure he was not amused with some of the comments that was made in that being dominated in game 1. The Devils were dominated game 1 by the Canes, but we just see if they can kind of control the pace. They need to kind of control the pace early, as we said. So this will definitely be not saying that if the Canes win that they'll lose. Instead of talking about the Devils because they came back from 3-1 against the Rangers, but they need to kind of like I don't know. I mean, look, what do you think about this series, this game tonight?
It's important for New Jersey to play better, which I think they will. You can make the argument in game 1 that they had their legs underneath them from a grueling 7-game series to beat the Rangers on Monday at home. So Carolina took advantage of that. But Carolina has a little mix of defense and speed, and we saw that in full display on Wednesday. And they took advantage of a couple of early turnovers from the New Jersey Devils as well. So the Carolina, like we mentioned, there's a bunch of no names on that team, but they collectively played together as a team, and that's what you need at this time of year. So, but I expect the Devils to play better tonight and be more of the aggressor. I think you'll see a much tighter game tonight and play more to their style. Carolina could do it too, but I think it's going to be a back and forth 3-2, 2-1 type games. I'm expecting that tonight. I think New Jersey said they got to feel how Carolina plays, and they say, hey, we can compete with these guys. We can set the tempo early, and we'll be in this thing.
Yeah, I think that if you're the Devils, I think you want to set the tone early. I think Jack Hughes has to kind of like set the sort of like that tone a little bit. So, like I said, it'll be interesting to see what they do here. But yeah, like I said, I don't think that we're going to see the 5-1 shellac. I think Devils will win. Win it tonight. I'll go out on a limb there and perhaps make this a 5-6 gamer. Which I think. Look, the Devils, they may have been, like I said, they may have been fatigued after what happened. They had that grueling 7-gamer against the Rangers. But that was disappointing for the Rangers. But look, the Devils, did what they needed to do, and we'll see if they can do it, tie the series. So we'll just see what happens with that. Now, I'm looking forward to this series, coming up. This will be very interesting. The Oilers against the Knights.
Yeah, you thought game 1 is exciting. Wait till
Yeah.
you watch the rest of this series.
Yeah, I mean that oh god, I mean this is like this could literally be a dogfight. I think not literally, but I feel like this is sort of a good chance that this could probably go 6 or 7, like we talked about it on Monday. So I'm looking forward to this game tomorrow, and like it's been said before, I mean this could definitely be who controls the pace, because I know that the Oilers definitely want to bounce back, and win that, try to split the series going into Edmonton, but we'll see.
Yeah, Leon Draisaitl had all 4 goals for Edmonton, which was a personal best
and
for
lost.
him. Exactly. Exactly. You cannot blame him. But on the flip side, for the Golden Knights, we know they're not so much a speed team, or they have a little bit of speed, but they're much more of a physical team, and they could definitely beat you up. And I think this is going out on a limb and using air quotes for those listening back on the replay on our podcast. Who's going to steal a win as far as the goalie's concerned for Edmonton or for Vegas Golden Knights with Jonathan Quick and such? So who's gonna steal a win in goal? Because I think, I don't know, this you're gonna see a 6-4 game, but you could definitely see a 4-2 game, 5-4 game. I think you're going to see a couple of those coming as the series goes along. But who's going to be that goal? He's going to steal a game, because if that happens, that team is going to win this series.
Yeah, could Connor McDavid. I know just saw that had all 4 of those goals, but then they ended up losing, unfortunately. I know McDavid had this assist in a couple of those goals were just sold, but unfortunately, I think that maybe he may have to step up a little bit on the goalie side, or the goal side, I should say. So that's gonna be interesting too. But yeah, I mean, look, we know Vegas is a very speed team, a little bit. So I know the Oilers want to play a little bit in that pace as well. So this we could probably see another. We may see like a 7-6 or 8-7 type because that's how it was. Game one was like 5-4 and overtime. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this will in store. But yeah, I think this could be another one of those. Whatever the over under is, I would say take the over, but that's just me for gambling purposes. But we'll see.
Yeah, as Lakita mentioned, we'll run the rest of the schedule for the NHL playoffs for tonight and for the weekend. The Devils and the Hurricanes, game 2 tonight on TNT. That's at 7 o'clock Chicago time. Of course, the Carolina leads that best of 7 series 1-0. And looking forward tomorrow's schedule.
It's only one. You got Edmonton, Vegas.
Edmonton. Okay, good. Edmonton. I'm definitely looking forward to that TNT. Okay, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Of course, Vegas leads that series 1-0. And of course, on Sunday you will have 3 games. 3. This is for Sunday at 2:30 p.m. on TBS. Hurricanes and Devils. That's game 3, which that series will shift now to New Jersey. At 5:30 on Sunday on TBS, we'll have Maple Leafs and Panthers in game 3 from the Sunshine State of Florida, and followed by Stars and Kraken game 3 from Seattle. That's at 8:30 p.m. on TBS. So all 3 games on Sunday will be on TBS. So just flip between baseball and hockey in the NBA playoffs. You're set right there. So that's your schedule for the Stanley Cup playoffs for this weekend.
Yeah, as you can see, that's why with the various schedule. Like I know that ABC has the next four days are going to have ESPN, ABC will have the NBA games, and of course the Turner networks will have the various Stanley Cup playoff games. So like you said, a triple header on TBS now for Sunday. So that should be fun. Just keep it with that right there on TBS. Keep it locked, all you hockey fans out there. And that is your schedule for the NHL playoffs this weekend.
Yes, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, a fun Friday fun edition. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. Lakina, let me get to my question of the day. Actually, I've been meaning to ask this to you and to our listeners and viewers for the last couple of weeks, as yours truly is trying to plan out his summer at the ballpark outside of Sox Park. And of course, I attended that Dodgers Cubs game for my personal celebration that Jackie Robinson did a couple of weeks ago. That was the coldest baseball game I ever attended. Baseball should not be played in that kind of environment, but what do I know? But I was thinking of this. This is all across the spectrum of professional sports right now. Like, you can include soccer or NASCAR if you want, but which top 5 current athletes would you pay to see right now? We say current athletes, not past athletes. Of course, if I open up for past athletes, everybody will say, "Oh, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Dr. J, Hank Aaron, Ken Griffey, Babe Ruth, and some of the other old names you want to dig up." But I'll ask you first: what are your top 5 athletes that you will pay, no matter what price, if you have the funds to see this person play? It could be all from one sport, couple from one sport, couple from another. It could be all 5 from another sport. I'll include golfers in here too. Which top 5 current athletes right now would you pay to go see it? If that person was coming to your town, if you had the funds, I'll go pay to see that guy or that gal.
Let's see here. You're putting me on the spot here, as you can see, folks. Definitely Steph. I think especially since he's still shooting well at his age. I think definitely Steph would be one guy I would see. Definitely Pat Mahomes. That's another one. I'm trying to get for all the sports here. Connor McDavid. Definitely. For hockey. Baseball. Trying to think of pick just one guy for baseball, especially currently. Since there's so many. I'll go outside the baseball because I don't think there's anybody I would pay to see in baseball, at least right now. John Rahm, if you want to, we'll do golf a little bit.
Okay.
And who else? Another one I probably would say. I guess I'll get a female in there. I guess Candace Parker. I guess just because I gotta get a female in there because I don't want all the females saying, "Oh, you didn't have any female athletes on your list." Okay, fine. There's one. Okay, there you go. Now leave me alone. Well, what are yours, Sid?
Actually, I paid to see this guy, but he's on the top of my list. I'll stick with baseball first, and that's Dylan Cease of the Chicago White Sox. I know he hasn't pitched well lately in his last few starts with the White Sox, but I think he's a star on the rise with the White Sox, and hopefully the White Sox organization can reward him with a long-term contract, but we'll see what happens in the next couple of years. So I'll still pay to go see Dylan Cease. I'll stick with baseball. I would pay to see Mike Trout. I've done it a couple of times before, so I'll have him. I'll have Mike Trout on there. As far as hockey, I'm with you with Connor McDavid because I haven't seen him play live. I've seen Ovechkin play live. I haven't seen Sidney Crosby play live. I'll have him. We're talking about Crosby as my honorable mention. So, but I'll give me first for Connor McDavid. As far as golf is concerned, even though he's still current and even though he's not at the top of his game due to injury, I'll still pay to go see Tiger Woods because that's a history in the making.
Okay. No, look, if you ask about 15 years.
Yeah, and I'll throw in the female athlete, not just to please the quote unquote woke crowd or to please you, Lakina, no offense, but Caitlin Clark of Iowa. I'll go pay to see her.
Okay, that's fine. Well, no, but like you said, you don't have to explain anything to me. But yeah, I mean, look, you can make a case for all those folks. I mean, look, it's going to be interesting. Like you said, I mean, those are probably folks I probably would pay to see. Listen, I've never been to a hockey game. I think I went to a Blackhawks game like years ago. So yeah, I would love to see Connor McDavid.
Yeah, one of the best experiences in your life.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. But yeah, look, this is one of those things where I think there are no wrong answers. I think look, I think everybody you could probably put maybe I guess I don't know. I'm trying to think maybe anybody in tennis right now you'll go see. I mean, Djokovic maybe. I mean that would be a good name to watch for. College hoops. There's really not really one guy I want to see right now on either side. Maybe Caitlin Clark, I guess. I can't really think of anybody else I probably would pay to see right now. I mean, Steph Curry, Pat Mahomes, Aaron Judge, Roman Reigns, of course, Ed Bianca. Well, yeah, of course.
Shout out to our buddy Lamont. Yeah.
Of course, Lamont, guys, wrestling folks on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, look, I think there are no right or wrong answers. I think whatever your personal preference is, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm just trying to go through the other sports. Basketball, like I said, I've seen LeBron James a couple of times before. I actually saw him in his first game in Chicago back in December 2003, and that was his first year in Cleveland, during the 2003-04 season. So that was fun. I didn't get to see Carmelo Anthony live, so I could scratch that out. I would like to see Steph Curry. I'll pay to see Steph Curry. I'm with you on that. Kevin Durant, haven't seen him live, so I think I'll pay to see him. Before injury started to catch up to him. No pun intended.
You're already
so
seeing that, unfortunately. Yeah, we're already seeing that.
Yeah, right. So as long as he still can move out, I'll go pay to see him. Hockey, like I said, Connor McDavid. I've seen Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves plenty of times, so didn't take nothing for granted watching those two guys play for the Blackhawks, and so I've seen them. Like I said, not too many draws in tennis right now, so I'll leave them alone. Like I said, I mentioned Tiger in golf. Let's see, baseball. Like I said, I've seen most of the current stars. Like I said, I've seen the Yankees a couple of times. Of course, playing the Sox, I saw Aaron Judge. He's a terrific talent. Thank you, Lamont, for that comment. You mentioned Aaron Judge as well. He's really tall up close. I've seen Vladimir Guerrero Jr. play a couple of times for the Toronto
he's
Blue Jays. I saw him during his rookie year 2 years ago.
Yeah,
he hit just like his daddy, Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that whole Toronto squad. I think you got him, Bo Bichette, Kayvon Biggio. I mean, that's a couple other guys. Whose dad's played in the majors. So I mean, I think definitely that whole team. I know they're struggling right now, but I think that whole team I probably would like to see. Going with my soccer, I think Mo Salah from Liverpool. I think that's another guy that I would love to go to London and watch some of these these clubs play. I should say. The Liverpools, the Man U's, the Man Cities, Arsenal. They're Arsenal and Man City. They're in a battle right now for the top of the table in the English Premier League. Let's see who else. I mean, Nelly Corda, I guess, if you want to go LPGA, I guess, even though I don't really watch the LPGA like that. I mean, the U.S. women's soccer team, I guess you can't go wrong with seeing them play. That's really, I mean, Formula One, I would love to go to a Formula One race. I know there's.
I would like to go to a NASCAR race at least once in my life. I would like to go to one.
Yeah,
I know
they
some
got
people
the
go there
street
to
race.
see a potential crash. Of course, I'm not into that. I know that's part of the sport. Unfortunately, sometimes that does happen. But I would like to see a race up close before I check up out of here physically.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, remember they got that street course race coming up in Chicago in about 6 or 7 weeks from now.
Tearing up Lakeshore Drive.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. Formula.
Thank you, Lori Lightfoot.
I would love to go see a Formula One race. I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun. Traveling to some of the most exotic places. They're actually gonna be here too in another few months. I'm talking about Formula One, so you'll have a chance. Hopefully, I'm sure the tickets are very expensive, so I will be able to.
I'll still look into it, but
yeah, very lucrative Formula One. But yeah, I would love to go see them. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. I mean, I would love to see Obi play. I haven't seen Obi play in person yet. Hopefully, I
saw Ovechkin play in person. That was back in March of 2010. That was the first year the Hawks won the cup. But that was the game that he injured Brian Campbell, slamming him into the board, injuring his shoulder. I was pissed because Campbell was on the receiving end of that play, and of course Ovechkin got kicked out. So I was doubly pissed. And of course, Washington won that game in overtime. But Ovechkin is a great talent. And like I said, he's a future Hall of Fame. I got a chance to see him in person, but of course he didn't play a whole game because he did something stupid.
Yeah, that's we won't talk about that, but yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm trying to see who else I probably would like to see.
Now, while you think about that, Lakina, real quick, as far as football, I'm with you with Patrick Mahomes, obviously, but call me crazy. Hopefully this team gets good soon, maybe in a couple of years. Justin Fields. I would pay to see him.
I mean, I want to see how he does against this new core that he has. I want to see him play a little bit more. And remember, there are going to be folks that are going to have tape on him too. So, you kind of have to, I'll wait on that. I'd love to see Buffalo. Well, I want to go with it's a little like September, October. I don't want to go with like November and December where it's freezing in Buffalo. Sorry, I'm not going to do that. Baltimore, hopefully Lamar Jackson can stay healthy. I would like to see him.
Yeah, put me on that list for him.
Yeah. Let me see here. I like to see how Detroit looks. I mean, Detroit, they could they could be one of the favorites in the NFC North this year. Philadelphia, I mean, they look like they're meaning business. I want to pay off that tease from earlier. Jalen Carter has signed, became the first rookie to sign his rookie deal. So and he's already at the facility. I know Nick Sirianni, I know Fletcher Cox and Brendan Grammer have been mentoring him. So I know he's been getting a lot of flack for maybe some of his comments. I know some people feel like his attitude and the way he's been feeling, but I think being in a place like Philadelphia, I think could definitely help him in the long run for various reasons. So I think this is probably a good fit for him, and I think Philadelphia could probably make some noise this year again.
And don't forget, I think he still works in the organization. Remember, Brian Dalk is now Pro Football Hall of Famer. I'm sure he's given Jalen Carter some advice. So he's another great resource for Mr. Carter as well. Real quick, Lakina, before we continue, would you pay to go see Jalen Hurts since you brought up the Philadelphia news?
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Let's see who else.
Yeah.
I mean, that's about it. I mean, I guess Cincinnati, as we'll see how they look. Miami, hopefully, Tua is health-wise is better. New York, I want to see how the Jets. You saw we were seeing Aaron Rodgers make the rounds in various spots. They went to the first couple of games of the Heat Knicks games with Sauce Gardner. So they're not now becoming BFS. If you're Garrett Wilson, you might be a little bit jealous at the moment since he'll be passing the ball to you. But I mean that I guess the Jets. I guess we'll see how they look. Let's see. No. I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, look, the Rams, we'll see. I think the Rams will realize that they have to have picks, so we'll see how they look. San Francisco again. We don't know who's going to be the quarterback yet, so that might be a little bit of a wild card. Granted, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, they were at the Lakers Warriors game last night, so. But yeah, I'll be just like I said, I think that's about it. I think that's about it for all those folks who would like to see. Yeah.
Okay. Our buddy, before we hit the break, our buddy Lamont Scott checks in again via the Facebook. Has either one of us wanted to go to WrestleMania? Unfortunately, now no Lamont because I don't watch pro wrestling like that. Maybe back in the day, especially I think it was the first one. It was in Detroit in '87 with the late great Aretha Franklin sung the national anthem. I would love to be in that building in that hot ass Pontiac Silverdome. If I had a time machine, I would go to that one.
Yeah,
I would love to be in that one. I think that was one with the Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan title, the WW at that time WWF title. And you know the story behind that, go look it up, folks, and you know what happened. For those of you that don't know, go look it up.
Well, yeah, we look. I mean, Lamont and Kyle, our big Kyle Mees, we talked about that. I would love to have gone to that one over the first one that was at the now Allstate Arena. I would love to have gone to that one. The one that you mentioned, I think that was another one that I really wish I could have went to. But yeah, nowadays not really. I know there are a lot of stuff I know all the stuff that goes on, but I'm like, I don't watch wrestling like that anymore. So like it's just like maybe like back in the 80s when it was like at its peak, and popularity. But now I'm just like, oh, okay. Oh, it's WrestleMania again. Okay. They're actually going to have their 50th in Philadelphia. Speaking of, they're going to have their 40th in Philadelphia next year. So that should be interesting there. But yeah, so I don't know. Maybe not now, but maybe back in the 80s, but not now.
Yeah, they say in Philadelphia next year, wear your helmets and any other stuff. They're gonna get a lot of stuff thrown at them, literally.
Yeah, it's going to be the 40th too. So yeah, it's gonna be. I'm sure that place is gonna be rocking. So whoever the mayor of Philadelphia is, I'm hoping that he or she has a lot of security. Just saying. Okay, we're going to take a really quick break. Of course, after this break, we're going to talk some sports, media news, and some other stuff, too. Coming up next, Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. We wrap days up coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Sorry. Welcome back to Second City Sports on a Fun Friday Fun edition. This is our last segment of the week and last segment for the day. I am Sid the Kid along with Miss Lakina McGee. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
Look, it's catchy. You know, you should be apologizing for dancing. You follow Lakina McGee on the Twitter and the kids go again on the IG.
Yeah, you have any questions or comments for us or your last minute comments or questions? And we're still throwing the question out on the table. Which top 5 current athletes would you pay to see right now? You can give us your answers along with the other questions and comments for our other topics that we covered on today's show. You can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions and comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, a couple more NFL notes before we go to our sports media news. It looks like this news just came across the world. Actually, I'll do this first. Giants All-Pro defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence has signed a new extension, a 4-year extension that's worth $90 million and with $60 million guaranteed. So the Giants keep one of their All-Pro defensive tackle. So a nice win, and Mr. Lawrence get fresh paper.
Yeah, he's on the few defensive starts that the New York Giants team has. Remember, Lakina, last year they made the playoffs off the backs of Daniel Jones, who got fresh cash, and Saquon Barkley, who's currently on a franchise tag, their running back. So they had one of the top offenses in the league, but they couldn't get it done defensively. You saw what happened in that second round loss matchup last year at Philadelphia. That defense got shelled. Daniel Jones got shelled. So this is a good signing for the Giants. They still have some work to do, but they could be more competitive in the NFC East next year. You still have Philadelphia, as I mentioned. Dallas is going to be Dallas. Washington, that could be a scary team, but they still have a while to go, even though they have an ownership change. But back to the Giants, this is a good move for them to keep their core defensive player on their team. They just need to build a better scheme around them.
Yeah,
with better players, obviously.
Yeah, well, yeah, the front seven, of course, that secondary isn't the best for the Giants. That's probably one of their few weaknesses. But, look, I think, locking down one of your top defensive guys that can only help the Giants. So, good for him getting this fresh paper. And also, too, some more news. According to Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, as of right now, Frank Wright has said that Andy Dalton is the Panthers' QB1 for right now. Of course, this is after the Panthers drafted Bryce Young. Some people thought that maybe he would be, the starter right now, but it looks like Dalton is going to be a starter, of course, as we've been saying that, all that. But I'm looking forward to see. Well, they're saying until he's ready. So who knows what that means? I'm going to tell you, it's saying after training camp or after OTAs. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. Could be after. Look, I mean, that NFC South is still there for the taking. So, like, look, if Dalton, look, they've got a solid pickup of various players in their free agents. They probably had like one of the best off seasons right there with the Bears and the Lions, some of the other teams as well. So I think for this case, look, just let Dalton start. He's got the experience. He's a veteran. I'm sure I'm sure they put the provision in there after what happened in Chicago with, of course, Andy Dalton. Of course, they drafted Justin Fields, but that might be, he might still have a little bit of bad memories from that. So I think that's probably why they would make sure that the veteran part of that is still there. But yeah, it'll be interesting though. But we'll see. But what do you think?
I'm sure better communication from the Panthers organization compared to the Bears, especially when Matt Nagy was here. But that's a whole nother issue. But new head coach Frank Reich, I think his plan is right. No pun intended. We all know that Carolina's not up for winning for this upcoming season. So I'm sure Frank Reich is going to take the playbook out of the old coach's playbook like Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh did last year. He played Trubisky the first 4 or 5 games and insert Kenny Pickett. And you notice that Steelers team took off after that, getting off to that terrible start. Was it all Trubisky's fault? Of course not. But, Kenny Pickett was in there like the 5th or 6th game of the year. and the Steelers took off and damn near made the playoffs. So could it happen again with Carolina? As far as making the playoffs, no. But if Andy Dalton starts the year, assuming that Bryce Young doesn't get hurt, if Andy Dalton starts the first 4 or 5 games and they feel like their Young is ready to take over the Rams, I'm sure they'll do the same thing, follow the same playbook.
Yeah, we'll just see what happens there. Now they're already talking about next year's NFL draft. Oh, goody. But
why?
Yeah, I know, right? I guess people are. I guess they need something to keep them occupied. Of course, Heisman Trophy winner, reigning Heisman Trophy winner, I should say, from a USC quarterback Caleb Williams. Drake May, the QB from North Carolina. Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receiver from Ohio State. And
the Bears could get him next year. But that's right, they have a bonus first round pick. Well, what do you know? Go on.
Well, that will go for. Well, it depends. Well, look, it's going to depend on what happens this season. Though, remember that. So, if you're the Bears, you want the Panthers to not be very good next year. That way, you can get that pick, kind of like set up how the Bulls are right now with the Vooch trade and such. So, it's all going to depend on what they do next season. But yeah, I mean, it's really too early for this. It's really too early for this. I mean, I can't deal with this right now. Can we let them at least start the season first? I mean, I just get very antsy. I know people got to be bored. I know Michael Penix Jr. is another name, from Washington. He's the oldest of those players that I talked about, so among a few others, but. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like, let's just wait until they actually play college football this year. But whatever. What do I know?
Yeah, it's another way for the NFL to keep its names in the headlines between now and the start of training camp in July, late July. I know, right?
Oh, goody. Some college hoops notes. Hunter Dickinson, who of course left. I know that's your guy, Sid. He left Michigan. Now he's going to go to Kansas, joining that Bill Self and the gang there. And I think probably one of the few I guess weaknesses for the Kansas last year was the rebounding and such, especially defensive rebounding, offensive rebounding too. So Hunter Dickinson, he averages about 9 per game, 8 or 9 per game. So. A veteran guy could definitely be kind of like that guy that kind of fill a couple of those holes that we'll see where some of the guys go, if some of the guys leaves and such, if Jalen Wilson leaves and whatnot. But this is a good pickup for Kansas, I think. But
yeah, I'm sure for Hunter Dickinson, if he wants to go to the next level, i.e. the NBA, they'll improve his draft stock. I'm not saying he wouldn't have been drafted, but what do I know? I'm not a scout, but it's definitely going to improve his chances of getting into the NBA, playing on a better team. In Kansas, you mentioned what their weaknesses was this past season. And on the flip side, for Michigan, Juwan Howard is Chicago's very own. Hopefully, he has a strong recruiting class coming in next year, and you need a banger inside. Where he's going to get it if he doesn't have it already.
Well, yeah, and also too with the transfer portal, the way it's set up now, I think we'll see, because I think there are some guys that still have not committed to to various places yet. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this is all set up. And
breaking news, real quick, Lakina. Matt Murvis, his first at bat in the Cubs uniform, a Chicago Cubs uniform. He struck out.
Oh, well, that's all right. That's okay.
Carry on.
That's okay. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's okay. I mean, look, I'm sure it's going to take him a little bit to kind of get it going. So, look, it's fine. I'm not gonna freak out too much. I know some people will, but I'm sure he'll get it going. I'm sure.
Yeah,
he'll get it going. I'm sure. It's a little bit nutty, but yeah, that's about it. I mean, let's see. I guess. Well, actually, you know what? Yeah, I mean, I think Alexander Ovechkin and Boston Gear, they're leading the way for among jersey sales in the NHL, which is not really a big surprise considering what except for losing to Florida in the first round. What they did, win the President's Trophy. Of course, Ovi's still doing what he does at his age, but just a little bit of note there. But I think that's about it that I wanted.
We know the Blackhawks ain't on that list. We know that.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they're probably not even in the top 15. My goodness, but yeah. So I just want to make that little bit of note and try to see anything else that I know they're gonna have some sports media news to cover in a little bit. So let me see, is there anything other? And anything else NFL related that that needs to be talked about? No, that's about it. Yeah, I mean, Jared McKinnon, of course, they made the Chiefs, made that re-signing official. So not a big surprise that he's staying with that he stayed. I know there were some Bears fans that wanted him to come to the Bears, but I think the best situation for him right now is to stay with the Chiefs.
Yeah, and plus he has a better chance of winning. You notice when they talking about the Chiefs, when they use Jared McKinnon, especially in the passing game, that's where his best features were. And you saw that last year, late in the season, on into the playoffs and the Super Bowl. So, yeah, that was the best situation for him to stay and perhaps get another ring.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably why he stayed. I think to see what what happens there. And some more breaking news for the White Sox. They've activated Joe Kelly from paternity leave.
Your
And,
guy.
now he's you mean your guy? Don't put me in that.
He may play for my team. He's not my guy.
Both Yohan Makata and Liam Hendricks were added to the Charlotte roster for rehab starts. And Sammy Peralta has been optioned to AAA. So, some more moves. And it was a very busy week for the White Sox, talking about moves and such. So, look, Liam Hendricks, seeing him back, I mean, I think he's
let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, he was well ahead of scheduling there. And the fact that he finished his treatment as quick as he did, the fact that he's now back on, back practicing, and he'll be back on the mound soon. Like, I'm sure they're still aiming for like a June return for the big league. We'll see what happens with that. I'm sure his doctor's going to want him to take it easy and such, but nothing, not surprising that we talked about when he first diagnosed that. If anybody was going to beat this, he's beat it pretty good. So as long as his physicals are good and such, he's still feeling great. He looks great too. By the way, I think look, could he add a spark to the White Sox? But could he be a big, could be a piece for a trade deadline? I know some White Sox fans don't want to talk about it, but there were rumors before we found out about his cancer diagnosis. That's what happened, right before the season started, was that he was subject to trade talks. So I don't know.
I don't know if you caught any of his presser. I'm talking about Liam Hendricks from a couple of days ago. He talked about feeling something in his neck and his shoulder.
Like in the back,
like the back. It was amazing. And he still had a good year last year, even though he was pitching to that. No one knew. Of course, he didn't know at the time what it was. Thank goodness they caught it early. And he's back to living a normal life, and we can't wait to see him back on the mound very soon. But he talked about his personal struggles, and now current Cubs starting pitcher Jameis Italian gave him some advice talking about no one owns your feelings. At the time he announced his diagnosis back in January. This is what Jameis Italian, now the Cubs, told Liam Hendricks via Liam's press conference the other day. No one owns your feelings. You can handle this. You are able to handle this however you want to handle it. And of course, the next day he started throwing off on the mound. He was doing that between his cancer treatment. So we saw a couple of pieces of film during spring training that he was visiting the guys that he was working out on the side. So, we know Liam is a fierce competitor. He's a gamer, and his teammates love him. I know he's not the leader in that clubhouse, but he's one of the big voices of young veterans in that clubhouse. So it's going to be great to see him once he finally gets activated, hopefully in the next few weeks or so, because that White Sox bullpen needed right now, but most importantly, that Liam is feeling good as far as his health is concerned. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely, and like I said before, I mean, we'll see if Rickon does pull the trigger. If he does look good, hopefully, all his physicals and such, are still kind of, all clear and all good. I mean, the fact that he, hopefully he can give the bullpen that spark. But like we've been saying, I would be surprised especially if he does well. And we'll see. Like I said, we'll see. I think June's the target date, so we'll see what happens. He may look at the rate he's going. He might come even earlier than that. He might come before Memorial Day, so who knows? But I'm looking forward to see how he looks. And like I said, I mean, especially if the Sox are still going to be like near the bottom or at the bottom, by the time the trade deadline starts, you got to think about if he's going to be someone that the Sox could move. I mean, I know White Sox fans don't want to talk about it, but that might be long term. That might be something that you may have to do. So again, we'll see. Look, it's great to see him out there, and I heard a presser saying that like he felt something. I'm glad he went and got it checked out right away. I think that's really what helped him catch it early. But look, I think that's another one, number one thing, the fact that his health, and I think everything else. I know he said his wife's been a real rock, for him through all this, and I'm glad she was there to, support system and such. I know he's got a lot of family out in Australia where he's originally from, so I'm glad he had somebody there to kind of, be that support system and be that kind of that person to kind of like keep him, calm, and he's a fighter, and we know that too. So it like I said, it's gonna be interesting. It's great to see him out there on the field. Just have him walking about in life in general, not even the baseball part. Leave the baseball part out of it.
Yeah, I know him and his wife. They do a lot for the community in Chicago, especially on the South Side. They'll continue to do good work, and he's going to spread use his platform for good. He's done that before with other organizations in town, and he's going to do that now with the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that he's overcome. And that was a great T-shirt that he wore, by the way. He struck out cancer. I know you can go to whitesox.com. I think obvious really shirts locally here in town. They have they have those shirts for sale as well. So all proceeds will go to various charities to help fight that disease. So make sure you support that. So I can't wait to see him back on the field. Lakina, obviously, as a White Sox fan, but most importantly, his health is much more important. I'm glad he's doing well, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing as well. The fact that he is doing well and health-wise, that's the most important thing. So I think we're glad just to see him out and about and still out there. And still, hopefully we'll see him be that big dog that we've been seeing in the last couple of years since he's been here, especially. So can't wait. It was the Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown with you. This stuff going on, going back to college too for a second. This stuff going on with New Mexico State is just, I don't know if you've heard so much about it. I'm going to set up here. Of course, if you guys didn't see New Mexico State very much, playing wise, they actually forfeit the rest of their season after a couple of players claimed that hazing and sexual assault, and now the coaches were targeted, and that the teammates are also targeted coaches. So just this to me, this has 07 Baylor written all over it. If you guys remember what happened at Baylor back in 07, you dealt with a murder, you dealt with a cover-up and stuff. This is sort of like the same situation. And if you haven't been following it, I know Google's your friend, but I just want to bring that out there just as kind of like, it's a little bit off-putting because this was actually a program that's been playing very well. Actually, it pulled off some upsets in the NCAA tournament, and now you see this is going on now. I mean, it's just unfortunate, and hopefully they can get together, but it's going to be a while. This has, like I said, 07 Baylor written all over it.
Speaking of Baylor of 07, I don't know if you, I know it's definitely regarding that basketball team. I think that player got murdered. I want to say 03 or 04, somewhere around in there. I know Showtime Sports did a documentary a few years ago. I forgot what it's called. So someone in the chat could put it in. Please do. I don't know if you saw it, Lakina, but I saw that basketball. Okay, good. I forgot that basketball coach's name. I'm talking about who was coach back then.
List.
Yeah, thank you. That dude was lying back then. He's lying now. Why would you trust a guy like that? I know coaches, especially the college profession, they'll do any and everything within reason, except for him, to keep their jobs. But you got a player that just died on your team. You trying to cover your backside and cover up the program. That dude. I don't. People like that, I just don't trust.
There was some other stuff that went on too during that time in 03. So just a terrible one. Of course, we all saw it. Took him a few years. Then Scott Drew came on in 07. Then we saw, of course, the coming to a championship a couple of years ago. So, but yeah, New Mexico State, I mean, it's just brutal what's going on over there right now. This sounds like it's gonna no one's died, but still a lot of harm there. So you guys, keep that up. But let's end on a high note. Sid, I know you got some we got some sports media news. Yeah, please. Let's get out of the bat for a second. Let's talk about the sports media news. You go first. I know you got a couple.
Since I know we got a couple of minutes left. I know we're up against it, but last year NFL and Skydance formed a joint venture to create both scripted and unscripted content. And on Wednesday, those two companies announced that they're going to produce a documentary featuring Cowboys owner Jerry Jones. Are you looking forward to that?
Well, I don't know if it's going to be must see, but it should be interesting to see how they produce that. Like, how far do they go? Because look, we saw about what happened. There was very issues that happened in the 90s with those, as great as those Cowboys teams, were with Aikman and Irving and Emmitt Smith. But you saw some of the stuff that happened off the field. Those days were becoming just as prevalent off the field as it was on the field.
Yes.
So
Too bad Hard Knocks wasn't started back then.
So we'll see if how far they go, but it should be fascinating. We know some of the stuff's been happening, off the headlines and such. How deep they're going to do that. So we won't get into it, but it'll be interesting to see how far they do go. But we'll see. I'm sure. Look, I'm sure Jerry Jones, Mr. Jones will have a little bit of a say on what goes on there and what doesn't.
Well,
So
like I said, he was involved in, he's no shortage of controversy, of course, with the whole kneeling situation when Colin Kaepernick at the time. Of course, he had his own issues away from the field with dealing with family issues and whatnot. We won't get into that, but yeah, he's going to have some say, and especially during those owners meetings, excuse the expression, he's the attention whore. So he likes to be the biggest man in the room. That everybody has his eyes on him. So yeah, he's definitely going to have some control on a whole lot of it, as much as he can get. I promise you that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. Now, locally here, Sid, a little bit of new, not necessarily new ownership, but definitely, some new blood at the top over at the Score. Audacity announced that Mitch Rosen, of course, a longtime programming manager. Of course, he has other titles there in the Audacity family. He's been promoted to vice president and brand managing. And Ryan Porth, who worked there as a producer for 670 Score for a little bit, did some marketing as well. He is now the new program manager, so he'll handle the day-to-day duties of the station's programming and such. So he was at the game at Nashville. He got there he's been there since January, but actually has worked within the Odyssey family and such in various other forms. So some not new blood per se, but he does have to answer to Mr. Rosen. But we'll see if anything big changes there. But they've been doing pretty well. I'm talking about the Score has so. We'll see if there is any big changes, but I don't think there will be, at least not for the moment.
I agree with you, not for the foreseeable future. Congratulations to both those gentlemen. I met Mitch Rosen a couple of times. He's a very humble and very nice guy, straightforward guy, but he's not a mean guy at all. He's been at it. He's been at this for a long time. Ran both sports radio stations here in town. So he came to the Score in 05 after leaving ESPN 1000. So now. The Score is still the number one sports radio station ratings-wise in Chicago. So, yeah, great move by the station. And like you said, we know change is inevitable in this business, but I don't see any coming, not anytime soon anyway. We know that it happens, but, I don't see it at the station anytime soon outside of this.
Right, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he brings. Talking about Ryan does, and he did a great job down there in Nashville. So he is from here, so he's kind of coming home for him. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he does, brings to the table and whatnot. Like I said, Rays wise, they've actually been pretty well laid up. What the Score has. So also too, college football playoff. They've announced the new schedule. Let me get that up for a second now. You have anything other sports news you want to talk about real quick?
Steve Levy was replaced.
I saw that.
Yeah, just real quick. I think because he was the number 2 voice for Monday Night Football. Whenever had those regional doubleheaders and whatnot. Yes. he was replaced. I know some folks were upset about that. Bring him back up for hockey. That's just me personally, but
of course, Chris Fowler will be replacing.
Fowler is.
So after part of his new deal with ESPN, I'm talking about Mr. Fowler's new deal and such. But I mean, it's hard for me to say because I actually like Steve Levy doing football. I know that's not a popular opinion, but I feel like he's been kind of getting the short end of the stick. We'll see if he does go back to doing college football. I know there's definitely some changes made, of course, with various guys. Of course, Todd Blackledge leaving for NBC and some other moves as well. So we'll see if he does if they do bring him back for college football. Like you said, I mean, I think Sean McDonough has that unlocked, the top guy for hockey. I know Bob Wischusen has actually been a really solid. Him and Brian Boucher, I mean, they're actually really good together. So so we just see what he does. I know Lee's not going to say anything bad about anybody. He knows he's a company guy. I think he understood why he and Louis Riddick and Brian Grease, who actually ended up leaving for the 49ers anyway. They were basically cast type for Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. So I think he understood that. But I mean, you feel for him, but I think he understands the business. This guy's been around forever, right? Like I said, I grew up watching him on SportsCenter. just the fact that he's still a great personality and a great guy too. He's 58 years old now. Good grief. I mean, my God. I mean, geez.
I know, right? We're getting old.
We're getting old. Like, never mind. Look, I know he had he was very happy that McDonald's gave a senior discount a couple weeks back. I know y'all saw that. I went viral, but yeah, it's tough. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm sure we'll still see him doing some football in some form. Like I said, maybe it's just college or something. So we'll see what happens with that. It'll be interesting to see with Fowler too. I mean, I'm sure he's gonna be doing a lot of games. So I don't know. Gonna be interesting to see what his scheduling.
It's a Saturday night game for ABC for college football. Now he has the NFL to his list as well. So yeah, very very busy guy. Will he still be able to do tennis? I doubt it.
I know that's I know people were asking about that too, because right around that time you got the U.S. Open. I think he'll probably still do Wimbledon. Of course, that's gonna be.
Yeah, I was like, Wimbledon's coming up in the next less than 2 months from now. So
yeah, French one. Yeah, they'll do. ESPN does that for sure, so you don't have to worry about that. Aussie Open, it's really gonna be the U.S. Open because that's when everything sort of starts. So that's gonna be the thing. Of course, you got week 0 and such. So that's gonna be really the thing there. Could he be able to do that? So I don't know. Like I said, no one's really saying anything about what the new deal entails, but they got guys there folks there can do that. So if he doesn't do it, I mean, they just let PMAC, John and Patrick McEnroe, let them do it for a little bit, so they find somebody. But that's gonna be interesting to see if he does going to be doing some more tennis with this new deal he has coming up now. Going to the new college football playoff, which will expand in 2025. It'll be Friday, 2024. There'll be a one evening game. There'll be a Saturday game on the 21st of 2024. That's my birthday of December. 3 games, early afternoon and the late afternoon and the evening. And then the quarterfinals will be on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. That'll be the Fiesta and the Peach Bowl. And then you've got the semifinals, which will be on the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl. That'll be on January 9th and 10th of 2025. Then you'll have the national championship in Atlanta at 2025 on January 20th. Sort of the same thing as deal with Friday, Saturday games in December and such. So it'll be interesting though, because that Saturday, remember, that's going to be the start of the NFL season. You got the Black Friday and not Black Friday, but you got to go be dealing with some Saturday games too. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be very interesting with scheduling wise.
Yeah, you got competing eyeballs, so we'll see what happens. And it's going to be a lot of computers and TV screens being used during that time on those days.
Yeah, absolutely.
You will be one of them.
Well, yeah, I'll be one of them too. So it's gonna be interesting to see where it goes from there. Yeah, that's about it. Anything else you want to talk about before we disperse, Sid?
I want to disperse into this great weather we're going to have around here this weekend. So I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's actually finally being springtime here in Chicago. So definitely gonna be enjoying the weather too. My allergies might not be ready for it, unfortunately. But
I know what you mean.
Yeah, with that said, you can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keela's going to begin on IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80, SIDKID80, SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We're available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And make sure you give War Media a follow on all social media platforms at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in 11 color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Please catch Second City Sports every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And make sure you check out Sports Chicago anytime you want on Roku TV.
Roku!
On the Roku app or the Roku, remote, whatever you got, wherever you have, go to their Play Store and just type in Sports Zone Chicago. You can catch our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas. I know they're going to have some stuff, coming on tomorrow. Also, too, What's Up, Cuz as well. So, get all the programming of Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere you want, at whatever device.
Yes. And we will provide. I won't sing this one.
All right. With that said, enjoy all the NBA, the the NHL, the soccer, all this stuff that's coming on right now. I know there's some golf, the golf tournaments going on right now as well. So check all that out. Of course, racing as well and soccer too. So enjoy all the sports and also this great weather we're having. Especially if you're fortunate up here in most parts of the region. So looking like spring finally. So enjoy that great weather. Just be safe, everybody. For Sid, I'm Lakina. This is Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, and we'll see you Monday.
Go Sox! Holla!